Hello, everyone, into another episode of Beyond the Forecast. Thank you to meteorologist Kevin Appleby for figuring out what episode we're on. We are now on episode 38, if you can believe it. We're cruising. We're almost to a full year.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
And I will always bring this up. I don't know if it's going to line up with it being a year because there's some times where we haven't done an episode, but it's right around Halloween / when we changed the clocks.
That's what I thought.
We began.
That's what I thought.
So,
maybe like the first or second week of November or something.
Yeah, so we have it's probably like 12 weeks away. We'll be on episode 50 by then.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yes.
So, Kevin, we'll start with what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, if you were watching News 10 on Saturday morning, you might have noticed I wasn't there. And that is because I took like a quick little long weekend. Long weekend for me is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And
I know how that goes. I did that for 5 years, so I get it.
I went to my alma mater, Penn State, which is definitely the biggest thing that's happened there in the past week. Anyways, I was there and I saw a bunch of my old friends that are still there. Some graduate students, PhD students that were there when I was there.
Gotcha.
And obviously some mentors as well. One thing that still catches me off guard is I go out for dinner and I'm shocked at the price.
Oh,
because
it's cheap.
Oh my gosh!
I remember you saying that. I do remember you saying that.
Like, how does this place make money?
Yeah.
Anyways, what have you been up to?
Saturday, I think it was. Yeah, I was up at the lake. I was at the Great Sacandaga. Our friend has a very nice house there on the lake. She's going to be in the wedding. Eric asked her to be in the wedding this weekend, and our other friend Brenna also will be in the wedding. So we had they did a little engagement party for us. It was only the handful of us, but you know what? It was fantastic weather. There was a little bit of a breeze. We were able to sit out with the sun all day. They did steamed clams. I have not had clams in years. They weren't as good as I remember them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just putting that. Well, I mean, they were good, but I was like, I used to love them, and I was like, they're good, but I'm not like, overly, in love with them. Then they made some steak. We were about ready to leave, and then they walked out with an ice cream cake. And I have not had one of those. What are they, like the Caravelle or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Carvel?
Yeah. It was so good.
Now I'm down.
It was so good. And they're like, oh, take the rest of the cake. And I'm like, we have an hour drive. It's going to melt. Otherwise we would, And then Sunday we tried to go to Costco. That was a fun experience.
Try?
We went into the parking lot. We saw that the line was still out the door. And we're like, we'll come back another day. We don't need it that bad right now.
Crazy.
So we were going to go get
build a second
hot dog.
Costco.
Oh, it was insane. It was insane. But we'll go there eventually. I think our plan is to try to go on a day like maybe an hour before closing. And hopefully that'll be good.
I feel like it's like that most days.
Yeah.
I've avoided it.
Oh, it was insane.
I don't live that far away from it.
It was insane. I go, we're not even going to look for parking. We just saw the line out the door, so I was like, we're not going there. So, but yeah, so that was fun. Let's do the rundown really quick. We're going to talk about the hummingbird migration. It's starting to go backwards. I know it's sad. That's just a sign of the times, unfortunately. We'll do an update on the tropics, both the Atlantic and the Pacific. Here's a hint. One of them have been a little bit more active than the other. And then we'll talk about the upcoming lunar eclipse that is happening next week. So you still have time for it, but it's not happening until next week. Before we get to that, though, we had a solar eclipse last week. Here's some of the pictures. I mean, this was pretty cool.
Yeah.
A time lapse here from Professor Richard Monda, I believe, from HVCC. Pretty cool. I had my eclipse glasses, Kevin. I was able to see the little chunk taken out. You didn't see much, but it was kind of cool to just see that little tiny chunk taken out.
Doesn't happen very often.
No. And I know a lot of people were doing
also, when else are you using those glasses these days? After the totality from a few years.
Oh, I know.
Like, what else are you using those glasses for?
I kept them. I had them in a little baggie. I think because I knew about this one years ago. I forgot about it until a week or two before.
This was Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah, I was driving, so I didn't see it.
I was looking. It was actually right after the noon.
I was driving away from here into lower
totality. Yeah,
so I did not notice it. Also, it was cloudy where I was. So
there's another one from Rotterdam.
Nice.
So pretty cool from Logan Pollard. So
nice to get them in here too.
Get the what?
Nice to get them sent to us and like that.
Yeah, and you get a little bit more perspective with this one. The other one obviously is probably from a telescope that's centered on it. But we saw some pictures from Spain. Fantastic pictures.
Reminiscent of a few years ago.
Yes. I wouldn't know because I was in totality, but it was cloudy, so I didn't see anything.
It just got dark.
So that's why I'm like, let me use the glasses because I didn't even get to use them then. So that was always fun. Kevin, you have a correction to something from last week. So
I made a boo-boo. Not
that big of a deal.
Not a big one, but I realized this when I was talking about it on Tuesday, yesterday, as of recording. We do not get one 90-degree day every September, or like on average. Basically, I was looking at a product that rounds to whole numbers.
Okay.
And that's why I was like, oh, we get one. And then I'm like, wait, how do we get one? And the average last day is in August.
Yeah.
I'm like, that makes no sense. So I looked at it closer. Double check your work, Kevin. But anyways.
Hey, we're all there. We're all guilty of it. So,
But it basically, instead of it being one a year, which is honestly, red flag, it was way too precise, 0.68, which is about every two out of every 3 years. And as we mentioned last week, they like to come in bursts. So you probably go a decade without them, and then you get a heat wave.
Yep.
Kind of like that. So, but just a perspective, we're not hitting 90 the rest of August in all likelihood. So,
I think 90 degrees are done, but you never know.
It's been over a month.
Could be one of those fluke things in September where we do have a big warm up. So
it could be deep in the month of September too.
Yeah.
So we can't write it off, but
it's not looking likely.
There's a chance that our last 90-degree day of the season was mid-July. We didn't even notice.
Yep. Yeah, we didn't even know.
So yeah, just a quick little correction. We don't get one every time.
Yep. Kevin just wanted to make sure we mentioned
2 out of 3. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, now let's talk about something that's dear to my heart.
I know it is.
I got so excited in the spring for the hummingbirds. They've been here. They've actually been eating a lot more lately. And the reason for that is because they're getting ready to migrate. So they are kind of plumping up. Now, I wouldn't have thought that they migrate in August. I really would have thought that they're here through like maybe September.
Yeah.
So it's odd to me. Now, obviously, they could take all these paths here that you see on this graphic. Some of them take the direct land route. Some of them will fly directly over the Gulf and go to Mexico, a 500-mile journey across the Gulf, which is insane.
That is nuts.
That is insane.
Man.
Now, I do have a graphic here with some stats on it. I think it's trying to load. That's why it's... There we go.
Okay, there you go.
So basically, what kind of starts this migration? They start to notice the changes in daylight duration.
Oh, it's not just them.
And right, it's everybody. And the less abundant flowers. Of course, things start to slowly die this time of year. During their migration, Kevin, their heart beats up to 1,260 times per minute.
What?
And their wings can flap 15 to 80 times per second. That's
a huge range of wing flapping. But
we knew that they flap pretty rapidly.
80 times a second?
Yeah,
you can't even see
insane.
that.
You don't see
that's
it.
That's like a constant.
You kind of see that. Have you ever seen a hummingbird up close? I'm not saying, but
I can't say I have.
So they look like they're hovering. You don't see their wings, because of how fast they're.
Wow.
It's insane. It really is insane.
Gotta pay better attention. Or get a feeder. I don't have a feeder. That's
or
why
get a feeder. Maybe you get a feeder next year. Maybe you'll be able to see some. The adult males leave first, mid to late July.
Wow.
However, I will say I've actually been seeing a male at my feeder lately, and there's actually been some fights. They are very territorial. So I don't know if there's two males fighting or if it's just they'll be feeding and then all of a sudden another one comes and they're like, get away from here. I'm feeding here at the time. The adult females usually follow in August, and then the young birds leave late August into September. So I may be seeing a young male, but it does look rather big. I don't know how to tell if it's this year's hatchling or if it's, many will fly across the Gulf in a 500-mile nonstop trip.
Sorry, what? 500 miles nonstop?
While others will take a longer land route through Mexico. Now, they don't fly in flocks like other birds. They will fly and make the trip solo, which is interesting.
I would not have guessed that.
So I do have some stats here, Kev, while we talk about this. They travel up to 3,000 miles at speeds of 20 to 30 miles per hour.
Zoom.
Before departure, they gain 25 to 40% in body weight to power intensive flights. Obviously, if you're flying 3,000 miles, you kind of need to, bulk up a little bit.
Gotta fuel up some way.
Which can include the 500-mile, 18 to 22-hour nonstop cross over the Gulf. That's insane. I bet you they're sleeping pretty good when they get to their destination.
That's That's crazy to me. 20 to 30 miles per hour for 500 miles.
Yeah.
Let's say it's 25 miles an hour, like on average, right?
Yes.
Yep. You need 4 hours for 100 miles, 20 hours. So you're flying for 20 hours.
18 to 22
The
hours.
fastest birds are flying for like 8. Yeah, you got it.
And then you've got, over land, they're averaging about 23 miles per day.
That's much slower.
What does this say? Though individual tracking shows some cover 100 plus miles per day under ideal conditions. So they have to be good. Obviously, you got to think about it. This little tiny bird,
Yeah.
Puffs in the wind is.
I'm just like I'm thrown off.
It's insane.
I'm thrown off by the Gulf birds.
Yep.
500.
Yep,
miles.
nonstop, 18 to 22 hours.
Ugh.
Heart rate, we've talked about that. Decreasing daylight in hours rather than weather changes. So it's not really the weather that's changing. It's just kind of the
Weather lags.
It's getting darker.
That's why we could still get hot.
Fall departures begin as early as mid to late July, as I mentioned, for the northern population. So that does include us. And peaks through August and September. Now, in the spring returns, just thinking ahead, males arrive first along the Gulf Coast starting in late January through mid-March, reaching the Northeast and Canada by late April and May, usually around Mother's Day weekend. This year, I think, was a week or two early.
Yeah.
I got very excited this year, put the feeders out, and then I was waiting for 2 weeks to see anything. But it was fun. It was a fun year. They've been good, and they're gonna keep your feeders out because they're still here. But I'll be excited for next year.
They're starting their trajectory from where nobody lives in Canada.
Yeah, unfortunately. With that, that's going to take us on our first break, Kevin. When we come back, we're going to talk about all things tropics.
Oh, boy.
We have one system to talk about as well, so don't go away. And welcome back into Beyond the Forecast. We haven't really talked about much with the tropics because if you saw an earlier episode, there's not much happening, and that's courtesy of El Nino. So
yeah, Rob, remember when you were saying it was going to be quiet?
It's been very quiet.
This has been super quiet.
Yes. So Kevin's got some numbers for us from the Atlantic.
I always think about, I remember when I first started college, it was August, late August of 2019, and Hurricane Dorian was... it was a behemoth, and it was approaching Florida.
That was the one from the Bahamas that decimated the Bahamas. One of the Bahamian islands.
I just remember it from Florida. It's like, it's just going to hit Florida, and then it kind of
But it kind of stopped, and then...
Well, I bring that up because the years that followed 2019 were so... 2020 was historic. 2021 was a worthy follow-up where we used, I think, the whole
just
alphabet.
very active, and there was one year that we did have the Greek alphabet as well.
Yeah, I think that was 2020.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that it was a bad year. It just means that there was a lot of tropical activity, tropical storms.
Yeah, I guess seeing that and, living through some ice storms, which are the notorious ones, I was a little shocked when college started and they were on D.
Yeah.
And this year... kind of at that same time of year, college starts soon, and I believe we're going to talk about a C-name storm that is post-tropical. Anyways, more on that in a moment. So let's revisit some of our forecasts that we looked at months ago, and obviously that's all they are, forecasts.
Yep.
Keep in mind the average. It's important when you talk about above or below average to know, well, what is average? Einstein. So 1991 to 2020 average. Usually we get 14 named storms, so that uses a good chunk of the alphabet. They skip a few of the letters. 7 hurricanes, 3 of which are major. So it's not 7 plus 3, it's 7, 3 of which are major.
And then you've got, to make up the difference, is tropical storms.
Yes. So we showed you the Colorado State.
Yep.
And we showed you the NOAA forecast, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So basically the government. Colorado State, you wouldn't think Colorado is like a hurricane forecasting breeding ground, but it sure is.
Though. Yep. It is.
So back in April, they issued a forecast for 13 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. So basically one lower than the average for all 3 of our tracked categories. NOAA, kind of similar where they gave more of a range.
Yep. Yeah, I think I was going to say NOAA always gives a range.
They
I
do,
think
which
Colorado State is.
I think much better. But
yes, I agree.
Also, I don't mind it, but
No.
I think anyways, 8 to 14. So
A range
basically,
gives a better idea.
below 2 average for named storms. 3 to 6 hurricanes would be below average no matter what, and 1 to 3 major hurricanes, so near or below average. Once again, in that department. So they're both expecting a quieter season despite water temperatures that are very warm.
Yep.
So other factors at play, again, like shear. There's been a lot of shear. Nothing's been able to get going. So we also have
A lot of dust, too.
We have some. That's right. We also have some tweaked forecasts, updated forecasts.
And they do this every year. This is not a.
There's no point in sticking to the one from April if we're halfway through the season and it's quiet.
Or very busy.
Right.
Vice versa.
So Colorado State, 11 named storms, 5 hurricanes, 2 of which are major. So 2 major still. Them back down from that and 1 less hurricane, but named storms is lower. And then NOAA has ticked their forecast down, generally speaking, including the possibility of 0 major hurricanes, which would be kind of crazy.
Now, they don't have to make landfall to be classified in this.
It can just be out impacting the fish.
Yep.
We like fish storms because hurricanes, obviously, they end up there. If they hit land, they're almost always going to be like a top 10 disaster of the year, cost wise.
Exactly. Depending on where and how strong, but yes.
So that's the Atlantic. It's been and
here's the Atlantic because here's the names.
Right. It has been a snooze fest so far, and of course it's usually a slow start because the peak doesn't really ramp up until July. But here we are, mid-August. And we're
approaching peak, though. I think peak for Atlantic is what, early September?
Yeah, late August, early September.
Yeah.
Either way, this is where stuff happens.
Yep.
We have just seen Cristobal, and all 3 of our storms so far are tropical storms.
Yep.
And you could make the case that some of them, I'm not saying shouldn't be named, but they were like a 6-hour storm.
Cristobal.
You know what I mean?
I think Arthur was, too.
Yeah, like these storms did not last.
No.
I think Bertha is the only one that made it more than a day.
And Cristobal was in the North Atlantic.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, like 6 hours. Mm-hmm. It was dead the next day. So
that brings our total to 3.
Yep.
And what makes me happy is there is the possibility, Rob, that we don't get to Isaias.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we will. Things will likely come in bursts.
But it may not be one that we were really talking about. You know, you never know. It could be something in the middle of the ocean. It's a quick tropical storm, and that's it.
I say that because Isaias.
I know everybody did not like the
Isaias.
Yeah.
I mean, I've honestly nailed the pronunciation. Maybe I am good.
Now, we've known it from the last time, right?
2020, yeah.
So
biggest thing that happened that year.
Now we're going to talk about the Eastern Pacific. So this gets a little complicated because they do split it up between Eastern Pacific and Central Pacific, and sometimes they'll cross over and things like that. So I just wanted to make it simple. And I just did the Eastern Pacific tropical season. So similar to what Kevin just showed you with CSU and NOAA, this is SMN. So this is basically the Mexican
Weather Service?
No, yes.
Huh.
And they forecasted 18 to 21 named storms. The average is 15.4 for 1991 to 2020. They forecasted 9 to 11 hurricanes. The average is 8.3. And they forecasted 5 to 9 major hurricanes. The average is 4.2.
So above.
And you can see NOAA was not much different.
Yeah.
15 to 22, 9 to 14, and 5 to 9.
Honestly, just wider ranges.
Yes.
And
slightly higher on the high end.
Yep.
Which, again, if you refer back to a previous episode that we did, Kevin, we discussed Pacific would be much more active this year. So far, now I'm going to show you the names.
Yeah.
This is what we're at. We are at 9 named storms so far. And Lola is separate because that's that Central North Pacific separate thing. When I put this graphic together, that storm had peaked at a Category 1. It's now up to a Category 3. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. There's been now 2 major hurricanes in the Pacific. Genevieve reaching Category 5 strength. But you see, there's a lot of tropical storms as well.
Yeah, a lot of them just peaked at tropical
exactly,
storms.
Exactly. Fausto was 2, Genevieve was 5, and again, so far we're up to 9. But we've got more to look at. And this was supposed to show you the Atlantic. I don't know what just happened, but there's no areas that we're watching in the Atlantic.
Yep.
There's 2 that we're currently watching in the Pacific. Well, not that we're watching because I hate to. They don't impact us, so we focus more on the Atlantic Basin.
It's okay, Rob. Don't feel bad.
And then you see that swirl there. That is Lala. That is still swirling.
Lala.
West of Hawaii. So we're gonna go in, and we're gonna show you the stats on this because it passed just south of the Hawaiian Islands. Of course, they had a lot of rain. I'm not sure where they're at as far as cleanup and any destruction that they had. But
yeah, they weren't unscathed.
Thankfully, it wasn't a direct hit.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Look at those gusts.
Right now, maximum sustained winds 125 miles per hour, gusting to 155. Now, this is as of recording this on Wednesday afternoon. Now, going ahead, we're going to zoom right in here. There's the track, Kevin. Now, look at these dots.
Yeah.
I don't know. These are just islands. I'm not sure what they are. I think what I read, it's a name that I would not feel comfortable trying to pronounce. It's a very long name, so I'm not going to try it. So there's hurricane warnings and tropical storm watches for those islands in the middle of the Pacific. They're so small you don't even see them on the map. Because Hurricane Lala is heading right for them.
At least it weakens.
Should weaken a little bit, yeah. And then as it passes the island here, it should continue to weaken and pretty much become a tropical storm over the weekend and into early parts of next week and meander in the middle of the ocean. So once it passes those islands, I think, unless there's other little tiny islands there that I can't see, should pretty much be a fish storm in the Pacific.
Yeah, once it gets by here. It's hard to tell, Rob, just being honest, how slow or quick this is moving because it's just in the ocean.
Yeah, There's nothing to reference it with.
Like how long is it going to be battering those tiny little islands for?
Exactly.
Probably at least a day.
At least a day. At least a day. Now, I think that, yes, that takes us to the end of this. We are going to take a quick break because we don't want to short you on what we're expecting next week for the lunar eclipse, so don't go away. Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. Kevin, we talked about the solar eclipse that we had last week. They usually come in pairs, where you'll have a solar eclipse and then a lunar eclipse or vice versa.
Yeah.
We're going to be treated to a lunar eclipse coming up next week.
This one's going to be cooler, in my opinion.
We're also all going to be able to see it, and you don't need those fancy glasses.
Yep. This is next week. This is next Thursday night, the 27th, into early Friday morning. So we'll say Thursday night. I think that's a little
But it's not super late. We'll show you. But it's one of those where you don't have to stay up until, pre-dawn hours to see this, So
yes.
Anyway, sorry.
So I guess what is a lunar eclipse, right? Well, Earth basically is obstructing the path between the sun and the moon, and as a result, there's a nice shadow that is cast on the moon. It kind of turns it into like a Mars-looking color, like that red-orange color.
Like a blood moon almost, yeah.
Right in between the sun and the moon, that's where we find Earth. Now, in this particular case, it's not going to line up perfectly. It's going to be considered a partial lunar eclipse, but I believe it's 93% minimum. I think
we said 96%.
I saw some sources say 96. So, somewhere 93, 96. Either way, it's probably tough to tell the difference with this one. 96% of the moon is going to be behind Earth's big shadow in layman's terms, right? And the maximum eclipse is right after midnight. So the eclipse technically begins 9:23 at night. That's when you first start getting a little bit of shadowing. And it technically ends at 3:02 in the morning. But really, we're going to target about an hour and 15 minutes on both sides of the max, which is around 12:12 or 12:13. So again, it's going to have that red, deep red color, maybe just a tiny sliver.
And that, I think, is going to be pretty cool,
yes.
where most of the moon is red when you just get that little crescent of white.
Yeah.
Now, I do have another graphic here, I think, Kevin.
Perhaps.
I know we do. Explaining the differences.
Yes.
You were just kind of talking about that a little bit.
You can see that little sliver a little bit more in the partial, and that's indeed where we're going to be dealing with. Penumbral, that's a fun one to say. Basically, you get a little shadow, but you're not like directly in it. So the moon gets a little discolored, but I mean,
Or just like darker. I've seen those ones. Those ones are not.
yeah, it's just off target
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yep.
It just looks off. Not as cool. This will be way cooler.
Yes.
It won't be total, but it'll be really, really good. Really, really good. I mean, 90, that's pretty impressive to cover that much of the moon. So, not
And
full.
we're all able to see it as long as the weather cooperates.
I was saying that this morning. I'm like, it should be great, as long as we're,
Yes.
not raining and stuff.
Or cloudy
So
or whatever.
We crossed our fingers. See, here's a time frame. Remember,
Yep.
we said 9:18 to 3:01 or so. Really, if you're trying to narrow down a period where it's the best to get as close to 12:12 as you can, it begins at 10:33 p.m. and it ends at 1:51 a.m. So, on
And
either side
I
of
would
midnight.
think if it's starting at 10:30, if you don't want to stay up until 12, you could probably see a pretty good amount of it by 11:30.
Yes.
But it's not going to be mostly red until 12:12.
The pictures that we will see and show,
Yes.
fingers crossed, no clouds.
Will be just
from-
after midnight,
yeah.
basically.
And that is on a Thursday night. That is my Saturday. I might be able to do it. Weather, please cooperate.
It looks pretty cool. It'll be going east to west. Not sure if it'll be. I'm not totally sure on this one, Kevin. If it's going from the horizon up.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
We were trying to figure that out. Sources on this are tough because it all depends on where you're viewing from.
Well, let's just hope it's clear, and then it's easy to
Yes.
find the moon.
And then we'll talk about this next week too, right? So we'll have more in-depth information on this on what to expect. So just mark it on your calendar. That's what we're pretty much
mine.
saying right now. I don't think there's any other graphics. So I don't want to. No, there's not. We don't want to talk about that. We could talk about that, but we don't need to.
It would really reinforce not hitting 90 again.
With that being said, Kevin, I think we're going to call it another day.
Okay.
We've got a weekend coming up. Weather looks
Good on
maybe
Friday,
okay.
which is all I care about.
Yeah.
I care about my weekend weather, of course. I'd rather do nothing than to deliver a fabulous weekend every Saturday and Sunday morning. But we know that's not the case. Won't be the case this weekend. Saturday looks better.
It looks the better of the two. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Things have trended maybe a little wetter, but
It's never
we'll
going to
see.
be like 100% dry, but
Well, I like to be an optimist, apparently. Anyways, have a great weekend, everybody. Hopefully you stay dry with any plans you may have, and we'll see you back here next week on Beyond the Forecast.